Right.
Well, there is a liquor store in Richmond that is being hit with an internet scam. Now, according to the State Alcohol and Beverage Control, someone has created a fake Facebook account associated with Derby Liquor.
WKYT's Alyssa Williams and photojournalist Darnell Crenshaw talked with the store's clerk, who says the scheme is negatively impacting the store's credibility with its customers. We're explaining how the scam works in this story at 5:30.
They claim to have the coldest beer in town, and Derby Liquor has a lot more to offer inside. Well, kind of. Nikki Capadia is the store's clerk.
Do you see that? That's not even our store.
I've never had this bottle in stock, not even once. The Buffalo Trace Experimental Collection.
Capadia is showing us a Facebook site that he says is disguised to look like his liquor store, saying the account is fake.
We've seen the Facebook page as of yesterday. It has almost 5,000 followers, and we have nothing to do with it.
Capadia says the store, located on the Dr. Robert Martin Bypass and Merrick Drive, has never had a Facebook account.
It looks like they're trying to push customers to buy things through shipping and PayPal.
Capadia says the store was notified of the fake account because of customer complaints received by an officer with the State Alcoholic Beverage Control. Customers indicated they placed an order outside of Kentucky and never received the product. The state ABC says the store does not have a license to do this type of transaction.
I think some of the items that they were actually trying to sell was distilled spirits, bourbon, stuff like that.
The state ABC asked Richmond PD to make the public aware of the scam.
It's not a complicated thing to do. I don't think it's anything that we haven't seen in the past.
Richmond Police Chief Rodney Richardson believes the scammers have copied and pasted pictures from other stores to create this false account.
Never had hats. We've never sold a hat in this store. As this page grows, it kind of tarnishes us for no reason.
In Richmond, Alyssa Williams, WKYT.
Now, we tried to reach out to the state ABC on this investigation this afternoon. As of news time, we have not heard back. Derby Liquor is trying to get that page removed, and Chief Richardson with Richmond Police is recommending people verify a business address and if the information is correct on a page before you purchase anything.